That's quick. So today I am joined by three very lovely people. The effeminate degenerate. I always tongue twist your name, otherwise known as Lapis. The lovely Oreo, and a newcomer to my channel, but equally lovely the same. Rin Michaelis. So say hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Excellent. And we sadly don't have a excellent topic to discuss, but it's an interesting one nonetheless, and it's important to talk about this sort of stuff. We're going to be talking about a particularly unpleasant person who has been haranguing a few of us of late, and indeed a fair amount of time, otherwise known as the Dark Conservatarian. And if his name is an indication, then you should be sort of aware of what we're going to sort of stuff we're going to be talking about today. So I actually have sort of a lot of stuff I want to say, but I think it's fair to let Rin start because she's got a fairly long line of things that Darkon's been sort of saying and doing surrounding her. So I think it'd be good to sort of let her start with the sort of conversation.
Yeah, it's just that I don't really know how to use the screen share here, but I do know it is that like Darkon has like this video called like Ren, the final chapter, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I just jumped to the conclusion, and he was all like, it's like, isn't it obvious that it's a parody account while he is showing like the updates when it's like Oreo, you could verify that it looked nothing like the way it does now. It looked exactly and precisely like my accounts, and I do have some screenshots of it, and I'm gonna try to screen share, and you can let me know if it comes in clear.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do. The screen share button, or share screen as it's labeled on here, is the fourth one on the bottom bit. On my screen, I've got a few buttons, and one of the monitor is the screen share one. I'm not sure if that appears for you.
I am having a different with screen share on this thing.
No problems. I mean, I've also got some buttons on my own screen, so when we do screen share, I should be able to like make your screen the biggest one, and it will be able to come up like nice and clearly. I mean, I'm sure like, have you enabled all your like settings for this like particular website? Because like when I first joined this, it said like enable your webcam and mic and stuff. Perhaps that's what you need to do. Yeah, I'm not too sure to be honest, but
is screen share
there we go. Excellent.
Is screen share working now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Excellent.
This is how it's originally looked like, and notice how it says joined April 2019. When me I've never been permanently suspended from Twitter. My real account has been around since like 2016, but it says April 2019, and it's the same background too, the exact same background.
Yep.
There is like no difference, and like this person is trying to, what it looks like is that this person is trying to taunt me, it's following me, and it's like contacting other people pretending to be me. Like when you take a good look at it, it doesn't say parody or whatnot. It looks exactly and precisely like my accounts.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like no one would use the exact
background.
exact same logo, exact same username. Like it's obvious what they're trying to do.
Yeah, second, and I also took some archive links too. Like, here's me taking an archive to like show, like, yes, like this person was, pretending to be me, and it's like, it's like Chris Dusty had to tell Oreo, this is an impersonation account. You could tell because it ends with a Z and not an S. It's pretty shitty. And like Oreo, you said that you didn't realize this.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And here's Maddie saying, "Oh my God, why did I actually think this was Rand?" Like so other people were being fooled and tricked. But if you watch, Dark City, it's like, can't any dweeb tell it's Rand? I knew it was Rand from the moment I looked at it. But as you can see that this account, it is it has the same name, same profile pic. It looks just like mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
it's
just
like,
saying things pretending to be me. So it's kind of a lot like, like Darkon is just showing it saying like parody and like, well, it's obvious it's a parody without disclosing, okay, parody wasn't always there and he had the exact same profile pic, he didn't disclose any of that. He just showed the way it is without disclosing this information.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it's also like looking at the stuff that's on the screen now, like it's so like crass and obviously like sexist what's being written here about another human being, and it sort of highlights sort of how harmful and negative this behavior is, because it's got to the point where this grown like adult is impersonating someone, making the impersonation account say really like crass things, and for what? Essentially because he's got this obsession with someone who he feels as though he like has wronged him or whatever, and is stooping to incredibly like sexist and abusive stuff
Yeah,
to try and like get back at her. And it's disgusting what he's sort of saying to you, or pretending to say as you, even, Rin.
yeah, exactly. Like even like this video, like the fall of Rand, it is full of sexism. He sounds like he say parts of MGTOW. Like there's this guy, ooh, MGTOW, and it's kind of like women have less compassion than, and then this MGTOW guy picked an animal. It's like he's just stooping down to MGTOW levels because it's just remarks against me.
Yeah, like I mean, I've heard some of the stuff Darkon tends to say in his videos and in person and over the his tweets and stuff. So I can imagine the language he uses. Do you have any particular sort of quotes that he said, like he's sort of called you, if you don't mind saying?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it on YouTube because YouTube is cracking down on some rules. It's kind of like, so I don't know if I were to repeat what he says, if it would make your channel easy to flag down. That's the reason why I've been trying to, hold back, because if I feel like if I, like showed like what he was saying, then it may hurt your channel.
Well, I mean, my channel is hardly a beacon of YouTube quality, so no, I'm sure it should be fine. Like, and even if it is, I'm not too sort of fussed really. It's important to have this stuff heard. So
Okay. Here's some of these sexist remarks again. Oh, can you hear it well? Is it playing?
Well, from my experience, playing videos over a screen share don't normally
Yeah, they don't
play as well.
Okay.
Perhaps if we just like link the video like in the description or something, then
or we could
and like timestamp it and stuff, we'll be able to. Sorry, Lapis?
I said we could also link it into the chat, so our viewers explore for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you see it in the chat right now? Like, there were like comments like, I am Wench Michaelis, and my last name isn't pronounced Michaelis, it's Michaelis.
I must have pronounced it wrong earlier. I'm so sorry.
No problem. You're not doing it on purpose.
I knew it was pronounced like that.
Yeah, but he calls me Wench Michaelis. and he and like I noticed that like at the end of the video he kept talking about like my period blood, like it gets like outright, it reaches into MGTOW territory, like when you just talk about a person's period blood. And S-Man was in on it too. Like S-Man, he also threw in some sexist remarks, like they were talking about how it should be Rand's period blood spores and whatnot.
Mm.
And let's see, it's kind of a lot like S-Man Spacey called me a whore, and it's like I think he's just calling me a whore because of my boobs. It's like that's the reason he's calling me a whore, because I know I never told him anything about my sex life. So it's kind of like if you don't know anything about my sex life, because I keep my sex life to myself, what would give you the impression that I'm a whore? And it just seems to be nothing more than the clothes that I wear.
But I mean, it wouldn't really matter anyway. Really, it's just an acceptable thing to say to someone. Like, and I think, I mean, when I sort of talk about the stuff that has been thrown my way, I'll be speaking about sort of a bunch of people really. I think it's important to establish that it's like Darkon is bad, but it's not just him that's sort of at fault here. There's a trend of behavior from a fair number of people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, clique is probably the best word for it, really. Because it's not as though like Darkon just appeared one day and started posting this stuff. It's like there's a whole sort of group really that's perpetuating some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's just
certainly when you're sorry, Lapis, your audio went a little bit iffy.
Oh, sorry. I said I think it's become very normalized for this sort of thing to happen on the internet, and people are just kind of expected to put up with it. And if you do have a problem with it, it's not the person who's doing it that's the fault. It's you. You're the one that's obsessed.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Tyler, the Creator Twitter post about cyberbullying. I'm sorry, he was like, oh, cyberbullying isn't a thing. Ha, why don't you just like close your computer and like go outside? Ha.
Yeah, there's the problem. Okay, you do know about the Rest in Peace Bianca situation. Where it's like this guy wouldn't leave Bianca alone, and then it escalated to the point where I think he stabbed her. Yes, because it's kind of like the weird thing about Darkon is that neither one of us have really responded to him. Like I checked out your channel, and you haven't really been responding to him. And if you like look at my channel, it's like you could tell, like when you look at Darkon's channel, it's pretty much one way. Like he's attacking us while we're not really responding to him, which makes it really weird. Like most YouTubers feed off the feedback, and if you don't give them any attention, they will naturally go away. But he's just keep giving us all of this attention, and it's reached a point where people who originally didn't care started getting freaked out by it. Like before, they just didn't really care about it, and they're like, oh, it's a Darkon centrist, and they didn't really care. But then like as Darkon continued making videos, even like 7 months, like I stopped making videos in March, but even though I stopped making videos in March, when he continues to keep putting out content about me, it's like like my friend of mine, a progressive, just started getting really freaked out, like, oh my goodness, like this is really weird.
Well, it is a bit odd to continually make videos about someone who's not responding to you, has not really done anything to you, has not communicated with you months and months and months. It's just very strange behavior.
Yes, and I've blocked Darkon on YouTube. Like I blocked him in December. I blocked him on Twitter December 28th, and then he managed to reach out to me on Discord. And when he started contacting me on Discord, I was really freaking out, because it's like, when will this guy stop contacting me? And then I did block him on Discord, but the Discord block feature is weird because he could still see everything I was saying. Like he probably didn't know on Modwin's Discord that I had him blocked because he could still see everything I'm saying. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's the point to the block feature if the person who is blocked could still see everything that I have to say? It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the person, when Rin blocked him first, and then I did, and the fact that he went through the whole thing of like celebrating being blocked, and like he actually, I don't know if he still got it there, but his banner, his like image for his banner on Twitter is the image of me blocking him, and I think it was Rin's previously, and he's got.
It was my banner for like months. You know, it's like,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
it
really
is.
creepy. It's like he has the banner of me blocking him. It's like, dude, I blocked you December 28th. Why are you still upset about that? Like I could see like having it up for a day or two and then moving on, but it's kind of a lot like it's like before he changed it to yours. I don't know when he changed it to yours. I think it was like immediately after you blocked him, but he kept mine up for months. And when I saw it, I was just freaking out because it's really, really creepy because most people would have moved on by now. You know, it's kind of like when people first realize that they are blocked by Steve Shives, they talk about it for a while, but then they move on and they get over it, you know.
And in a similar way, Steve Shives did nothing wrong, really, and neither did us. So a parallel there as well.
Yeah, that's true because, you know, Steve Shives, he doesn't have me blocked, you know, like I could see all his tweets.
I'm pretty sure he unblocked me though. I don't know why he blocked me. I never talked to him.
Oh,
Steve
I have a
Shives
theory on that.
You followed. I think he uses block lists.
Yeah.
Steve Shives is he's a lovely person. He's been very misrepresented by certain corners of the internet, and because tendencies in those circles to harass people are quite high, he sort of just sort of made, like Lapis said, made a block list. And didn't really want to bother having to sort of interact with people like that. And naturally people got caught up in it. I've always sort of thought with block lists. You can't really blame someone for using them in today's age of Twitter, where there's like lots of people who actively go out of their way to go and like be horrible to people. And obviously it can be a bit annoying sort of going onto someone's account and finding you blocked, but you got to sort of weigh up with what's that person had to go through to sort of be using block lists. And that ultimately you're not owed anyone's time, or no one owes you their time. And obviously, if you don't want to be blocked by like Steve and you are, then I'm sure if you ask someone and say, oh, I just got caught up in it by mistake, then he'll probably like take you off it. But it's the people who sort of make a whole point, like a whole fuss over it. Like it's just I don't really understand like how people can be so like unempathetic and stuff. But going back to what was it we were talking about? DarkCon. I wanted to. Siren?
Yeah, I was talking about the block list like earlier, because I think the way it works is that if you are following somebody, like if you follow Coats of Dusty, then you'll be automatically into like DMAs and get this block list. But if you were to unfollow that account, then you would be automatically be removed because I was originally blocked by Steve Shives and also blocked by a few other people. But as I started unfollowing people, I noticed that I was just automatically removed from the block list. So it's probably somebody you are following. Like if you're following Shoeonhead or Blair White, and he has Blair White's or Shoeonhead in the block list. If you were to unfollow them, you would probably see Steve Shives' tweets again.
Yeah.
Going back to the sort of what was it that made us bring up Steve Shives? Being blocked.
Blocked,
Like DarkCon, he actually like admitted that he was like going through my tweets, looking at all the replies that disagreed with me, and liking each one. And on one of my tweets,
yeah, let me tell you, Common Sense Guy does the exact same thing to me, where it's kind of a lot like whenever somebody gets into an argument with me, Common Sense Guy would just start liking, like all of their tweets, like anybody who's arguing with me, and he seems to be like watching me like a hawk, because each and every time I get into a Twitter argument, he's always there in a way that is creepy. So eventually I just blocked the guy. I didn't have him blocked originally because he mostly stayed quiet and lurking. And it's like, well, you're mostly quiet and lurking, so I don't care. But it's kind of a lot like, it's the whole, each and every time I get into an argument with somebody, he jumps on in. He's always there, always stuck in the tweets.
yeah,
Which is creepy because everybody gets into Twitter arguments, like pretty much everybody. Like if you look at just about any accounts, the Ranting Feminist, Christiosity, just about everybody gets into Twitter arguments, but they are just like watching it like a hawk. And it's like, and then it's like I learned from watching Darkon's video that, Common Sense Guy was like taking screenshots of all of the arguments, which I just thought is creepy and weird. So I blocked Common Sense Guy, but then I noticed something weird. I noticed that there were blank or empty accounts that were like recently created that were starting to follow me. So I blocked those too. It's like, why is there an empty account following me? So it's like blocked.
Yeah, just the fact that someone's willing to sort of stalk someone's replies like that and just like each one, as though as well, like just the idea that liking every single reply is gonna like do something too. And one of my tweets actually like took up a bit of traction. It got like a few thousand likes, which obviously I'm not gonna be frowned at, but because it got more likes, it was seen by more people, and subsequently more replies were made, and obviously Darkon's there like going through each one like it's like stalker or something essentially. And it's just, why would you want someone like that just around you? Basically, he's just on top of all the other stuff like the racism, the bigotry, the general unpleasantness. Like he's just a strange individual as well, like just like not uncomfortable to be around, like if you're sort of doing things like that.
I don't think we've actually talked about the racism on this stream yet, Owen.
No, we haven't.
That was
we haven't.
The inciting incident of why we were having the stream in the first place, and of the recent controversy that's, been around Twitter.
So I've never actually sort of discussed on here the sort of whole situation that sort of has taken place between he and I. Or mainly just him, really. It's like it's not really something that I particularly incited. So I think we'll start from the start. So years ago now, 2 years I want to say, I was in a group chat called The Poor Bastards, and it was essentially a primarily right-wing group chat, but it had like myself in it. I'm quite left-wing, and also like people. Lonely Wolf was in it. I don't know if you were in it at this point, Lapis. The first incident that happened, the very first one, but you were certainly in it for some of the later ones. And anyway, obviously politics was discussed. Me being a staunch left-wing person, I drew the ire of some of the more right-wing people in the group. And on one particular occasion, this person called Cult of Ham, who is a particularly irate person, shall we say, got so annoyed that he decided to call me the N-word. Out of nothing, essentially, he just got annoyed because he didn't like the fact that I was criticizing capitalism, and he called me the N-word. And went on to call me it a few more times. A person called Humane Mind was there. I don't know if you're aware of who he is. Lapis knows who he is.
Unfortunately, I have pleasure of knowing that individual.
Yeah, and I also got into a few arguments with Humane Mind. I did blocked him because he was so what's the combative, argumentative. He just gets into these ridiculous fight. Like I think the last argument I had with him was over good versus benefits, and like for me, I would say that good is more subjective, while benefits could be measured. Like I see benefits, it's like if like utility, like if something's beneficial to you, like would this book be beneficial to you? Like would this cooking book be beneficial to you? Like would it help you for your day-to-day life? Whereas good is more subjective. Like I think this pizza tastes good, and he would just get in this weird arguments with me. So it's like blocked.
Yeah.
Generally, Huge Main Mind was always a rather unpleasant person, very petulant, very prone to fits of rage when he felt that other people were disagreeing with him. And I actually had quite a few experiences where he was, replying to all of my videos, all the videos I was streaming in, leaving paragraph-long comments about his problems with me and his problems with what I was saying in the videos. It was a bit exhausting. So he's one of the few people I actually blocked, because I know in certain right-wing circles, people like to be blocked. It gives them a certain validation. I don't like to give them that validation, so I mute them instead. But if you really, really, go the extra mile to harass me, I will block you.
Yeah, he did that to my friend Amanda Miranda. I forget. I think she made a post about abortion. I forgot what the topic was, but like my mind is saying it was about abortion. But he left like paragraphs of comments about why she was wrong, and I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, he's Humane is just a like insufferable, awful person. Like not only are his politics just horrid, but he's also just a not very nice person to speak to. Like just I think all of us have had, as we've sort of just described it, just interactions with him. Humane actually on the day that I was just describing, where I was called the N-word by a cult of Ham. He actually made this long post describing the differences between black people and quote unquote the N-word, and how there's some. You actually hear a lot of racist white people say this. Essentially, there's good black people, and then there's the niggers.
Exactly, it's a very common trope with minority groups. You have the good ones who I'll tolerate, who assimilate into society and make it easy for me, and the bad ones, and these are the ones my hatred is justified against. And so you can't call me racist, you can't call me bigoted, because sometimes I accept that it's possible for them to be good, but mostly if you annoy me, you are immediately in the bad camp of that group.
Yeah, it reminds me of that scene from the Spike Lee movie Do the Right Thing, where Spike Lee's character acts as like the Italian character. He's like, "Who's your favorite singer?" He's like, "Prince." "Who's your favorite basketball player?" "Magic Johnson." Who's your who's your favorite like black, I guess, celebrity, basically. And he's like, "You like all these black people, but yet you call black people the N-word. Why is that?" He's like, "Well, see, they're not like the others. They're good ones." That's basically like the gist of what he was saying. And it's like, that's bad.
Yeah. It's just more of the same racist nonsense. Anyway, Humane said this while Ham was making his like crass N-word tweets, and all the other ones were there. Darkon, S-Man was there. A few of the I'm not sure if anyone's heard of JJ, but he was there. So all these people who were in their circle. So at that point, I sort of I think, why am I in this obviously like racist circle? And I leave. And following this, Darkon decides he's going to make a video sort of denouncing me for this, but firstly he makes a stream called Cult of Ham is Racist, but spelled WAYCIST, to essentially like mock the idea that the guy would be actually racist. And on this stream they're all making these incredibly racist jokes, so one of the I'm called a monkey. I'm called a porch monkey. Someone says that having sex with me would be like committing bestiality at one point. Obviously, I'm called the N-word more. All this is going on while they're sort of making all laughing along. Darkon actually gets him to repeat one of his jokes at one point because they can't quite hear it. Which obviously, he's actively encouraging him to continue with these. Hold on a second. I think my screen has frozen. Let me just continue in a second. Is it all still okay at your end, or?
Yeah, your screen looks fine. But just to be clear for the viewers, this was the very first incident where Cult of Ham, called Owen, the N-word. And then the whole chat got in on it. This was before I was actually in the group.
Just quickly, are you able still to hear and see me?
Yeah,
my screen has.
I can still hear
I'm
you.
like waving at the screen now. I'm moving around.
Yeah.
You are waving the screen. Right
this is really odd. My screen has actually frozen. It's just taking a bit of time to catch up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having problems on my end too. Like I have a bad internet connection, a very bad Wi-Fi connection, and my computer just I lost the internet connection for like 5 seconds, and I'm back. And yeah, I remember how Darkon contacted me because this was back when we were in quotes unquote good terms, even though at this point I think he was just pretending to like me. But anyway, he contacted me because he wanted me to like a video where he was defending Cults of Ham calling you the N-word. And he was making a long bit of excuses. And it was I think a 10-minute video or a 5-minute video. It wasn't that long, but he reached out to me because he thought that I would give it a like and share it around. And I left him a comment saying, no, I had to agree with Owen on this one. You don't go around calling people the N-word, you don't go around making a live stream where you are dehumanizing somebody, where you're talking about somebody like they're less than human,
Exactly.
And then of course, I experienced a lot of sexism from that group where Darkon called me a wench, SMS Beast called me a whore. They were talking about my period blood, and it's like I am being dehumanized. They're not, just arguing against any of, it's not like I said something like, I don't know, capitalism is great or capitalism is horrible, and they want to explain why capitalism is good or bad. They are just, dehumanizing me and attacking me by my gender characteristics.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and sorry, Lapis.
I was wondering if you wanted to continue on the account.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So obviously there's this stream, which is very long. I've actually sat through a fair amount of it because I was curious as to what else was said. It's mainly after the initial period of calling me all these horrible racist things. There's sort of Ham just moaning about the fact that he's being spoken about on Twitter, because Cult of Ham was also insisting he wasn't racist, even though he'd been on he was on camera at this point screaming racial slurs about me. And he's got the audacity to be like, oh, why am I being called a racist by all these people? But following this stream, Darkon makes a video saying that I've had a meltdown, and he essentially retells the story. He actually shows the racist messages that Ham sent. You can clearly see it in his video. And then in the video, he calls me the N-word. He says, "Oh, it's not actually racist for me to call you the N-word." And he interestingly shows 2 pieces of stand-up comedy that supposedly expose me for being too sensitive, whatever. If you listen to the stand-up he plays, neither of them actually do, because both of those bits of stand-up actually acknowledge the fact that calling someone the N-word is racist. It's just that they one of them sort of says that they prefer racists who are open about it than racists who are sort of sneaky about it, which is a bit ironic given Darkon's general sliminess as regards to sort of racism.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you go through his channel, the two people he talks about the most are the two of us, the two Black people. You don't see him going after white people the way he's going after us. And he has more videos of you over them all. Like, I sent you a clip of how many videos he, made about you. And it went on for 1 minute. Like, he had like 1 minute. Like, if you just type Owen into his search engine, it's like you will be scrolling for an entire minute. That is how many videos he's made about you. But it's just like I type Epstein in the search engine, and he made no videos on Jeffrey Epstein. Even like this was back when he was still alive, and he's been called like a pedophile. He has a pedophile ring, and he's like says nothing about Epstein, but he's gonna have like so many videos about you, and so many videos about me. But you don't see him attacking white people like this. And it goes back to the book I was reading, and I shared with you screenshots that I took it from my book. Mistakes were made, but not by me. And they were like, and it took a bunch of college students, and they wanted to see who our white students are going to treat worse, a white students or a Black student. And it's like like as long as there is like an excuse, as long as they have some type of an excuse, white students have always treated the Black students worse. I could try to find it if you want me to and show it. But I think you remember it, or maybe you could, show the screenshots.
You could probably link it in the description as well, Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But anyway,
I'll keep going because I'm far from. But yeah, like Darkon's video. Not even the first time he'd spoken about me on the channel. I think the first time he even interacted with me on the channel, which I hadn't even noticed until recently. He made a video. It's only like a few minutes long. S-Man is in the video with him. S-Man says, "Oh, Owen said this." Darkon replies, "Go and tell Owen to eat some chicken and watermelon." Just like that, out of the blue. I don't think he'd even spoken to me at this point, and he just says that. And it's like, if that's your first reaction to someone who's Black, you clearly racist. You clearly got some you clearly got some issues, because like what rational person just instantly thinks of that? And also like yeah, I know. Not only is it such a massive stereotype of Black people been associated with those sorts of things, in America, it's really inexcusable not to know of them, and then anywhere really, but not knowing about these.
He did know it, and that's exactly why he made the joke.
Well, exactly. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He knows that he's so obviously like a bigot. But the fact that it started so like long before any animosity was even there, animosity which is, by the way, caused by him. Like, let's not get this wrong. The only reason I'm critical of him is because he does things that are to be criticized. Like, there's no it's not as though I just decided, oh, let's go and track down this person. Like, no, they were openly and obviously bigoted. And they're also really right wing and have some pretty horrendous politics in general. But the obvious bigotry is a major component.
Yeah, the problem is, am I coming in clear?
You're coming in clear, man.
Yeah, the problem is how terribly they treat people, because it's like I do get into sort of argument. People argue, but then everybody moves on. Like, he would argue with somebody for an hour, and then next thing you two go, your separate ways. But it is kind of a lot like, it's kind of like I've been dogpiled by that group. It's like he'll be Common Sense Guy and Darkon and S-Man Speaks all at the exact same time. And I remember like when we were arguing, how it's kind of like, Darker Khan demanded that I go into his live stream where it's like 4 people were waiting for me, or like 4 or 6 people waiting for me, like some type of internet blood sports. And it was even titled Blood Sports.
Hello, some random geek. How long did I have you pop into the stream?
Yeah, while you were speaking, Viren, we've had another excellent person on, Some Random Geek.
Hello, Owen. Hello, Lapras. It's been a long time talking to you. And it's been a long time to talk to you, Ren. Yeah. And Oreo, this is my first time talking to you. Hello.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we last spoke, Some Random Geek. What do you want me to call you?
Some Random Geek is fine. Jonathan's also fine. Either one of them, SRG. People often call me. And my preferred pronouns also he, they. So, yeah.
I usually just call him Geek, which if there's a problem with that, then let me know. But
and how dare
but yeah, you actually mentioned quite a good point there, Rin. The whole attitude of like blood sports, because while the next part I was going to talk about was sort of just the tone of interaction that this person, Darkon, has had for the years, really, like videos titled "Owen destroyed," "Owen curb stomped," "Owen like annihilated." It's just like it's no like healthy person. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. No person who's thinking in a sensible manner that has compassion and decency speaks about other people like that. Like it's just ignoring all the politics for a second, even ignoring racism. Like you don't interact with people like that if you want to sort of, you're an adult, you got to behave like one, and acting like you're in some like
Ben Shapiro 14-year-old sort of
thing.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like, I remember like I went through your channel, Owen, and I know that you had Darkon on, and then you started off friendly enough, and then he was like in this dark room wearing a trench coat, and he was a lot like, "You are my enemy." And it's a lot like, it sounds like that. Who talks like that?
I don't know of like someone else that was Davis Arini. And when you're comparing someone to Davis Arini, that's already a bad starting point. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, like
yeah. Like,
oh yeah, speaking on the point of like Darkon's video titles dealing with you, Owen, like his latest one is Owen exposed as being patriarchal. And who is Taylor's new crush? Like,
it's ridiculous. It comes off like that program like TMZ.
Yeah.
TMZ, except for like random left-wing people who no one knows on the internet. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, just like ridiculous.
Just see Owen McDonald going to the fast food restaurant and ordering a vegan burger. How dare he?
Yeah, just like nonsense, like some tabloid like rag essentially, but in a YouTube form. And his like his whole like persona, to be honest, like the dark conservatarian, and how he puts his voice through like a deep voice modifier to like make him, he calls himself like the Reaper or something, and he like destroys his enemies. Like, who has enemies as well? Enemies. Like, I'm just some person who posts about like stuff on Twitter, and I'm his enemy. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Like, it's like we just mostly ignored him. It's like, Ren is my enemy. It's like, dude, it's kind of like I blocked you in December. Move on. You're still angry about that? Why are you still angry about that? Move on with your life already. It's August. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like for people who aren't familiar with the Dark Conservatarian, this stream might be a bit confusing because we still haven't like laid out a chronology of when all this was happening,
yeah,
or even what even started this whole thing to begin with. Yeah. So for people who aren't obsessively online and don't follow this bizarre internet drama that's starting to like reach out like an octopus and ensnare more and more people into its grasp. This all started about a year ago, actually a bit more than a year ago, in February of 2018, where a YouTuber called Cult of Ham called Owen racial slurs repeatedly in a little chat, Owen didn't like that and called it racist on Twitter. Cult of Ham got offended, and everyone in the friend group was offended that Owen had criticized Cult of Ham publicly. So then there was a live stream where, to prove how not racist they were, they started calling Owen a porch monkey, all these sort of things, joking about how he eats fried chicken and watermelon, and this was somehow supposed to prove that they're not racist. And so this was way before I was ever even tangentially involved in this group. So I joined the group not knowing all of this. And then in August of 2018, Cult of Ham gets up to his old trick, starts calling Owen racial slurs all over again. Then I speak up about that. He starts calling me a tranny and what have you. And that's also, he was trying to argue that he's not transphobic while calling me that. Like, what are you doing? Like, it seems like your only way to defend yourself from accusations of bigotry is to be more bigoted, which is so strange. But anyway, after that, Owen had kind of left the chat and wasn't really talking about DarkCon at all. But then we still seem to get more and more of these response videos. I call them response videos because there's not really any sort of in the way of arguing going on. DarkCon is just finding things that Owen is saying on Twitter or on YouTube and getting really angry about them.
Yeah. Like in one of his videos, he says, "Oh, I saw this video and I'm pretty sure it was about me, so I'm going to respond to it." And it's like, where's this coming from? Like he's such a massive liar, because there's no way like anyone could like get that from a video, because I don't mention him because funnily enough, I don't speak about online weirdos who are racist and far right and stuff. So he takes this video and he makes this full response to me. And right at the start, in the start of the video, he's like, Owen's this lying, awful nigger. And then, this is a video that Lapis posted a clip of, actually, I'm pretty sure.
His most recent video.
Directly, like within a minute of the video starting, he's called me like the N-word.
Right.
And, he's got the audacity to claim that he's, not racist and that he's got no issues. So I think that's what sort of that was one of the major sticking points, on top of all the dozens of like creepy response videos. And some of the videos aren't even response videos, like some of them are just clips from other people's channels of me talking on there, and he's like edited in like me speaking, when they'll take like a still shot of your face when you're speaking and like your mouth's open and stuff,
like tiny shots of your face to be like,
exactly, yeah.
Owen is stupid.
Like in one of them, he edits like a teardrop going down my face and stuff. In another one, what else does he say? Just things like that, things that like some juvenile, like immature child does when they've not been like taught about anything. And he's older than me. He's like in his mid-20s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that is the sad part. Like he is like, I don't know, like 26 years old, and he does like me the exact same way too, because like like in his video Ran at the final chapter, he actually admits it, like in the video, like in the that went through all the videos on my channel. It's like, you actually went through all the, I'm thinking, you went through all the videos on my channel, even though I stopped making videos in March. Why? And it's like the videos about me keeps on pouring, and it's really, really weird and creepy. And again, like one of my progressive friends, like one of my progressive friends, at first they were like, really quiet about it, didn't really want to talk about it. But it reached a point where they were like freaking out, like, but you haven't made a video since March, but you hardly ever tweets anymore. Like you don't really interact with people on Twitter anymore. Why is she still going on about you? And like he even missed that, like I noticed that she's like like not really fighting with people on Twitter anymore. It's like these people are watching me like a hawk, and
Yeah,
so big and weird.
Mhm.
It is like when you're just finding reasons to just talk about someone, when it's just like not even anything to do with anything, you're just dragging out little clips and inserting someone's face into it, or in one of the videos, it's not even about me, I think, and he just flashes my face on the screen with like a quote next to it or something. It's just the behavior of a obsessive racist who clearly needs to be spoken to about his like awful behavior,
Oh,
Mhm.
and sort of shouldn't really be in internet spaces with decent people, like decent sort of left-wing people like ourselves.
Mhm.
And
Well,
when
I don't think Corinne McCallis is left wing, but
No, I'm a centrist, I do have tweets where I'm like calling out Donald Trump. I do have a few of those. I've been doing that more and more lately because especially what I found the most upsetting, like this is where I did get, like really, really angry. It's like Donald Trump said that he was like the king of Israel, or he quotes it somebody. He's like, "Oh, a friend of mine said that I am the king of Israel and the second coming of God." And then I just, it's like, you know what? Fuck you, Donald Trump.
The leader of the free world, everyone. And yes,
Well-
some people do call our president in America the leader of the free world, as horrifying as that sounds, especially with like our commander in chief in office right now. So yeah.
I mean, to me, that always seemed like a weird contradiction. How can you possess something and have authority over it if it's supposedly free?
right.
well, exactly. But yeah, fair enough, Rin. You're not as left wing as us, but I'm sure in time, you'll be willing. No, just joking. No, certainly. The way he's sort of people, with any sense of decency, like us, we don't go around sort of being horrible to people and like calling them, racial slurs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And Darkon's not got it through his head, but that's that's not acceptable behavior.
Well,
And that's on.
it's not, hard R.
Oh
If
yeah.
it's wrong,
Wait. Let me tell you.
call someone a nigga and
Oh,
not
gosh.
you know what.
Let me
That's somehow different. That's somehow better. It's not racist now. It's
The TJ Kirk argument. I'm not a card-carrying member of the KKK. I'm not a Grand Wizard, so I can't be racist. But besides, being a Grand Wizard, that's kind of cool. That's a cool aesthetic from the D&D, right?
But at least with TJ, if he would probably get in that one argument with you for like 5 minutes, and then he would drop it and move on. For me, what freaked me out about DarkCon is him talking about me like I blocked him on December 28, 2018. And it would be a lot like his last video about me was August the 22nd of this year. And that is really, really creepy. I mean, it's a lot really was. Most people, I mean, even with some of the far rights, they would argue with you and then they'll move on with you. They would forget that they've ever talking about you. But DarkCon could keep things going for a creepily long time, because if DarkCon, just like we wouldn't be talking about him right now if he just moved on with his life. Like I'm pretty sure that if he argued with you once and then never mentioned you again and stopped interacting with you, none of us would be here.
Yeah.
Well, Owen's talked with various right-wing personalities over the years. He's still not making videos about or talking about them. The only reason he's been, his hand has kind of been forced is because there's like dozens of videos from DarkCon's channel. And especially if we include DarkCon's like circle of friends, the videos about Owen McDonald, grow into like the 20s, the 30s. Like it's just obscene.
Exactly.
If you add McCallis to that number, then we're starting to get upwards to like 100 videos if you include everyone in the circle.
Yeah. And it's like, I think bringing in the sort of wider circle of stuff as well is important too, because like DarkCon, he's the worst of it in terms of like just the obsession, the racism, all those sorts of things. But you got to also sort of think about who is enabling him, who is helping him out with this topic, and that includes people like S-Man, who like while he he's like, it's easy to because for a long time, like I would speak to him, I would sort of give him chances, if that makes sense, and to some degree I still sort of want to, but when he's like helping out DarkCon with his videos, when he's in the same hangouts and like group chats and sort of laughing along with the blatant racism, when he's like in DarkCon's most recent video, like just bringing me up out of nowhere, and sort of like just saying odd stuff about me, like it's sort of, that's part of the problem. And like Rin said, when S-Man's sort of saying stuff against her in a pretty sexist fashion.
Esma Speaks, he called me a whore, and Esma Speaks, he was talking about my boobs, and he participated in talking about and all of these sexist remarks about me. So he is enabling this and encouraging it. It's not like he's saying, hey, like maybe we should stop, like, hey, this is inappropriate, hey, like, no, I'm not going to have anything to do this. Because I remember like a long time ago, like I think it was back when I was like really new to YouTube. I think it was 2016, and I was in a hangout with Shareview, and he was talking about a feminist, and I thought he was going too far. So I just made an excuse to leave because I thought he was going too far. And when I hear people saying things that are going too far, I leave. Or I remember I was in a hangout with a Lonely Wolf, and Bering was saying things about Christiosity, and we were like, hey, Bering, Christiosity is a friend of ours, and we're not tolerating that. But when it comes to S-Man, he's not going like, no, we're not going to do this. No, this is wrong. It's unacceptable. And instead, he's like participating. He's like calling me a whore. He's even helping DarkCon making videos about me. So it's like he's not really trying to discourage it. He's just going along with it.
Yeah.
My thing
to be fair to S-Man Speaks, I'd say that if he is guilty of enabling it, then at least for a certain part, I was guilty of enabling it as well, because I didn't speak out when I could have had the opportunity when it came to what was going on with Owen and Rin, and this has been going on for months now. Only now have I actually said something when it's almost the end of 2019. Whenever like when Cult of Ham called you the M-word, I did stand up for you. I do tend to whenever this sort of behavior materializes, but I haven't really been very open or public about any sort of condemnation of DarkCon until yesterday. So if anything that is being said about S-Man, I think can be said about me and more, honestly.
Well,
that's the difference is you're saying something now, and the fact that you're saying something now, it's like kudos to you. It's like we really appreciate that you're saying something now, because that must take a lot of courage, like in of itself. Like it's probably courage, because they would probably try to come after you next for saying something, especially since you're a marginalized person yourself. So it's kind of a lot like, it is good that you're doing it, and I'm grateful, for that, because I don't think we've ever really interacted. You don't really know me, so because you don't really know me, I could, in a way, understand why you wouldn't say anything about me, or why you probably maybe initially agreed with DarkCon, probably because we never really interacted with each other, and you never had a chance to get to know me.
The thing is, though, Lapis, well, obviously, it's true that you didn't post anything until recently, but you wouldn't have gone on a stream with them and sort of laughed along while I was being called a monkey. You wouldn't have said to a person that's making videos like defending VCVN would, oh, can I help you out and sort of help you out with your editing and stuff. And I'm not really just talking about S-Man here. I'm talking about
the whole group.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like I want to make it clear that it's not like it's just those two and no one else.
It's like Common Sense Guys, like Cult of Ham, Loudmouth Reviews, the Great the Great Aspie or something like that.
The Incredible Act.
The Incredible Aspie. Yeah.
Like,
it's just-
you know, there's a difference between not speaking out when
Mhm.
it's right to and actively being a part of the sort of the abuse. Like, I get that. I get that. Like, you feel as though you could have spoken out sooner, but there's a difference between that and sort of the way they were behaving, and especially when they are also sort of making videos and they've got the opportunity to say, I disagreed with this, I didn't think this was right, and they didn't, and in some cases they actually sort of doubled down on it. And for all of this whole period, I've never once received like Owen, I'm sorry that I called you this, or Owen, I'm sorry that I laughed at this. If anything, I've actually sort of got it, doubled down on and worse.
Like I've seen like a common sense guy on Twitter saying, like, oh, Dark Khan, you're playing right into Owen's hands as if you are like an evil villain and you tricked Dark Khan into using the N-word. Like, how could Zach chose to call you the N-word out of his own free will. Any consequences he received is because of many people who just find it socially unacceptable. It's not like you forced him to use the N-word. You didn't put a gun to his head. He chose to call you the N-word out of his own free will. So I don't get this whole, oh no, you're playing right into his hands. And the common sense guy says the exact same thing about me. Like, somebody sent me screenshots of screenshots of the poor bastard's server, and it's like, oh, Dark Khan, you're playing right into her hands. It's like, you guys are so horrible and so terrible that, like, when it's exposed how horrible you are, people naturally recoil to it. Like I said, I have a progressive friend that initially, probably thought that, like, maybe I was wrong for, flagging common sense guy. But then as Dark Khan kept going and kept going and kept going, it got increasingly more creepy and creepy. And then, you just kind of like look and see, like, are you going to make a new video about Rand? Are you going to make a new video about Owen? And then it's kind of like,
about both.
Yeah, like, there's actually a video where he was talking about me, and he inserted a clip of Owen. Like, it's like, it's called The Patriarchal Shitlords, and it's like a video about me. It's like, well, this is the only time you would ever catch us about, talking about boobs. And he inserts a clip of Owen. It's like, it's just this, the way they behave is just it's so terrible, but it's also very unusual.
It really is. I mean, when you're playing into their hands, it sounds like
no, it's not your fault that you said a slur. It is his fault for trying to play you up. You don't have any responsibility for your actions.
It kind of sounds like something you'd hear from like a cheesy 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, don't give him the elemental sword. You're just playing right into his hands.
It's like a 1980s cartoon, like Dark Khan and Common Sense guy. They view me and Owen as cartoon villains.
Like, you played right into my head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, like,
I don't think that we actually made it clear about what actually kind of started off the whole thing that went on with Rin in our discussion of events about what started Dark Khan's kind of strange behavior with Owen. We've gone over to how originally it was first, just kind of being in circles with people who were also racist, like Cult of Ham, and then gradually it kind of moved away from being about Cult of Ham to Dark Khan being the main protagonist in, kind of strange racist response videos where he basically just makes fun of Owen because he really doesn't like him. And then, but with Wynne McCallis, I seem to remember it being that he took umbrage with you reporting one of his friends on Twitter while claiming to be in support of free speech.
That's what happened. Like, I had a flu, And then it's kind of a lot like I had a flu, and then I was like watching too many Mr. Medicare videos. And while I took a bunch of flu medication, and my, like when you take a little bit of once too many, you take, like 5 or 6 pills because, you take 5 or 6 pills. And then it's like I just got through watching a video clip of where, a fan of Medicare's, flagged down on the quartz ring. And it's kind of a lot like, as while intoxicated, I mimic the behavior. And it's, it's like and I could actually prove that I have the flu, by the way. It's like all I had to do is type my name, and because Switzer has an advanced feature, and all I had to do is type my name and type in flu, and it would actually confirm that I actually was sick at the time. And then it's like I was intoxicated, and I flagged, Common Sense Guy. And the reason why is because I found him to be really annoying and obnoxious. But I was like, after watching a video, I was kind of like, I'm trolling while I was intoxicated. But then, Common Sense Guy, Dr. Khan, got really angry, and he got offended on the behalf of Common Sense Guy. And it's August now, from December to August, he was never able to look past it.
I think it's
trying to pretend that I am some, per angel, like he's trying to imply, but I'm also saying that I'm not a demon either. I'm neither an angel nor a demon. People just do shitty things sometimes.
Well, I think that no one really is purely good or purely evil, but that shouldn't, keep us out from pointing out the bad while praising the good, even because
it's
most people are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So 2 things. Firstly, hello, Wolf. It's lovely to see you.
Hello.
Sorry it took so long for me to realize you joined the stream. Rather irritatingly, the bit where I have to click the tabs only has 5 in a row, so you were below my own tab, and I couldn't actually see you until I scrolled down. Secondly, Rin, you're absolutely right. We haven't really discussed Common Sense Guy much, but if you imagine just an insufferable, like, but there are many words I want to use, but I won't say them.
He's very much a reply guy sort of character.
Yeah, absolutely. Just doesn't care what you're saying. Just wants to find like contrarian points to sort of grind at and stuff. No interest in honest discussion. No interest in sort of
Common Sense Guy would be very much of the actually.
Yeah, very
exactly.
much Dora crowd. The thing with Common Sense Guy is I found it very confusing one time. He'd continually respond to all my tweets. And then there was one time when I was trying to have a discussion, trying being the operative word here. And he seemed to be confused about what I was saying. I asked him, okay, I just addressed that point. What's going on? And what he said was kind of infamously bad. He said, I didn't read the tweet. He didn't read my replies. He didn't read the original tweet. He was just getting offended about nothing.
I find him probably in person, like because I've been on his channel before. It's actually the channel itself is more nuanced than
I find it so strange. On Twitter, he seems to be completely raving.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that. It's sort of Twitter sort of betrays it undermines what happens on what they do on their channel, which is actually a lot more nuanced than.
Well, I think the thing with Twitter is that it encourages thoughtless, quick responses without any sort of nuance or evidence. Yeah. Because of the format of the website, you have to stick within the character limit, and that gives you limited time to address nuance in the argument, because you sometimes just literally don't have the space without creating this giant wall of a thread, which no one is going to read through anyway. So mostly people just stick to leaving short, simple responses that don't necessarily address everything. And it creates this sort of toxic space where you're not able to fully explore an argument properly because you just don't have the space. The website is against you by its design.
And this is one of the times you guys are going to hear me say Google Plus was better. Because like on Google Plus, there was no character limit. Like you could just type out everything you had to say. I mean, that was it.
Well, I really like Tumblr because you don't have this problem with Tumblr because you could write as much as you want and you can't really take a person out of context in Tumblr. And by the way, Lonely Wolf, I am so happy you're here. And I've been wanting you to come here. It's because there is another thing that Zach has said that I want to like address. Okay, about 5 minutes and 30 seconds into his video called The Fall of Rand, he was saying things like something along the lines of, he always hated my content. He never liked my content. He thought me dull and boring. And I frequently ran to him and reached out to him, because, I needed him to edit my videos. And like, because I remember that you, me, and Owen, we discussed this before, and you remember that Zach was really, really small, right? And like my channel was definitely bigger than his because like I had 800 and I think he had like 100, and he just he was getting a chance to get on a bigger channel, so he has this dishonest way of framing like I begged for his help when he was really looking forward to the opportunity to get to a bigger channel. And I have some screenshots of that too. Also, let me find it. I also took screenshots of that.
So you're saying he was trying to use your bigger channel as a way to advance his YouTube career?
No, I think what Rin was saying was that Darkon was talking some rubbish about, essentially saying that Rin was begging me to help her with her content, and I was having to drag her along when so like just making up nonsense essentially to try and make Rin look worse. Which
I kind of wanted to address the whole S-Man, Mike and Darkon. So first, I'm gonna go with S-Man since I've had a lot of experience with him more than Darkon, because my experience with Darkon is only like I think just like today and I think a bit of yesterday, but anyway, so with S-Man, I was on a stream of his actually, and he did bring up Rin, and this is at the time where me and Rin, we kind of had our conflict. He mentioned something about like Rin's voice, the way Rin talks, and I have to say I'm a bit at fault here, because I don't know if it was just because I didn't want to like push back and like say, well, yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk about that, or just not really being in the moment, just thinking about something else. But I kind of like laughed when he said that, and I just want to say I'm sorry because that's obviously something that you shouldn't laugh at. Everyone has their faults, and there are things that people can't control, and like with me with my autism, I can't control that. It's not an off switch where I can just turn it off. Everything gets better. So Rin, Rin, I just want to apologize about that incident with this man.
I forgive you. It's like, people do complain about my voice. Like, even my own family has complained about my voice. Like, even like the last time I saw my dad, he complained about my voice. So it's no big deal. But here is a screenshot that I took of a DM conversation between me and Darkon. Darkon says, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to irritate you. Hey, also, have you seen my most recent upload? If you want, can you mirror that on your channel Thursday?" So here he is asking me to mirror his recent upload to his channel. But if you were to look at the fall of Rand 5 minutes and 30 seconds into it, he's like, well, I find her boring, dull, uninteresting. I never really liked her content, but she begged me to like edit her videos.
It's to be honest, it's such a like ridiculous title as well. The Fall of Rin, like just a person on the internet you met. It's like I've like as though Rin's like some ancient Greek city or something being sieged, and not like an actual person.
You know what it reminds me? It reminds me of like what's it, Isaiah 23, the fall of Lucifer, like, oh, Lucifer, how have you fallen from the high heavens? It's like the fall of Ran, like, where was my rise? I mean, it's like, where was my rise at? It's like, he also keeps track of, me losing subscribers, and like, I haven't made any videos in like several months. What do you think was going to happen? He cares more than I do, and it's like, it's just so weird. It's kind of like it's just really biblical. It's like, like, I've never signed anybody's autograph. Nobody stopped me on the streets and said, hey, Rand, can I have your autograph? Even with all his videos about me, nobody glares at me.
Yeah.
Well, I
nobody
think
nobody in my real life has did you say something, effeminate degenerate?
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought I heard you say something, but it's like nobody has asked for my autograph. Nobody stopped me on the streets. I'm not recognized. Even after all of Darkon's videos, nobody recognizes me from YouTube. So he didn't really accomplish anything because he hasn't negatively impacted my life outside the internet at all. And not only that, but it's kind of like his videos didn't even do the best. I mean, I need to go to my channel and just put everything in order from popularity. I don't know how to do it with the way it is now. So
there's a popular, is like when you go onto the videos, there's an order by section, and you can click on the correct or the applicable filter for you. You touched on an interesting point there about how ultimately Darkon's crusading against you and myself doesn't affect anything outside the internet, but ultimately, well, I mean, it could, in theory. I mean, there's no like, potentially we could have been really like hurt by the awful way that we've been sort of treated. And it's important to sort of recognize that that's one of the intentional/unintentional effects of this sort of treatment, the denigration of other people, be it through blatant racism, be it through continued harassment, be it through just obsessive behavior. And other kinds of bigotry as well, like the way Lapis was sort of treated the second she spoke out against Cult of Ham we mentioned earlier, the sexism that Rin faced. And to some degree, I mean, I imagine you as well, Lapis, because, as a woman, you're on the internet, and she's, someone who they would recognize as a woman, they would target you for that as well, and just all those various aspects of like marginalization that these groups often like attack people along. And it's like, it needs to be sort of addressed really and spoken out against. And I think that's why I was so sort of pleased to see people sort of speak out the other day about it, because it's an important topic to discuss, because while it's, admittedly it is sort of humorous to make light of people like Darkon, because they are quite ridiculous, but they also represent a clear problem that we see online, and that's that, in many spaces, bigotry is just sort of allowed to fester and go unchecked, and behavior like theirs is not only seen as acceptable, but like actually defended. Like, because I was reading through my notifications, and obviously there was a lot of support, but there were one or two people sort of saying Darkon was in the right, and it's like absurd because he's clearly not. He's clearly, just a sniveling racist that's like trying to claw back some last minute, brownie points, whatever. But
because I sort of had because based on sort of my experience of whatever, it was sort of because I'd had a sort of conversation with Owen and Ren, and pretty much the beat of the conversation is that we want a ceasefire because we've blocked these people like Darkon and a few others, and we've blocked them, and we're just sort of moving on and doing our own thing, and we just want that sort of ceasefire where we're not sort of going into that back and forth. That's over because it hasn't resulted in anything productive. It's just completely degenerated, and I sort of what I wanted to try to do, at least my attempt was to try to facilitate that ceasefire and just say, look, these guys really don't want anything to do with you. So and the other thing is I've sort of been giving advice. I've just been saying, look, this is not healthy. It's coming across as very neurotic when you're making like a lot of the same people keep it getting recycled over and over again. And when it comes to the streams, when you're on something like that, I mean, like people do behave in a way you permit them to behave, and it's actually not that hard. Like maybe the first time you think, okay, if I call this out, if I say, okay, I don't like this, then people, but no, it's actually quite easy. Like all I had to say is when I've ever heard that, my pet hate is that one about the fried chicken and watermelon, that comment, like I was sort of public about that. I said, all I said was, we're not going to go there. This needs to stop. And then, we changed topic. It stopped. And it's sort of, it's easy. It didn't take much at all to actually do that. And there was a bit of there's a bit of extra nuance as well. Memphis, shut up. Sorry. There's a little extra nuance that goes into that, because I think that at the beginning when there was a lot of fights, there might have been back and forth, and there's probably things that I might have disagreed. Like I might have thought, okay, I might not agree with what Owen said here, when it comes to the actual arguments or whatever. And there's some things about Darkon, I mean, that I can't really erase. Like, he's taken sort of pro LGBT stances, so that's something that I can't sort of go back and just erase that. So I've got to, always acknowledge that, in a number of senses, because there was somebody higher up, that was Humane Mind, who was sort of, who's really been ejected from the group, like someone really, like it's a whole nother level, like that's a whole conversation in itself. And it was a linking of, LGBT with
pedophilia.
What was it?
Yeah, that was it.
I guess.
Yeah. And what that resulted in, that was the just about everyone, like they sort of left Humane Mind in droves, and that was sort of a good thing. So whenever I've made a video, like I can criticize Darkon, but I say this is what happened in the past, so I agree with you there. And I even sort of said, there were some parts of the earlier stages, like when there was sort of arguments between Rin, and during the earlier stages, I could say, well, okay, I didn't really agree with Rin in some respects in that case, but I'm not really talking about that's then. Like I'm talking about now, and at the current situation, like we've got two people, Owen and Rin, who just want to move on. Like they're not interested in the back and forth. And what I've been trying to say to a lot of these people was, look, this looks really bad. Like it's neurotic. You've got to eventually, rub out that hate boner and throw away the rag and just, sorry, that's vulgar. And move on.
No, I get what you were saying.
This isn't.
Yeah, but this is I have a reason for having this up because I was talking earlier about Darkon with his default of Ren, and about 5:30 into it, he's like, oh, she makes boring and dull videos, and then like I reached out to him because like I need him to make my videos interesting when my most popular videos I did completely 100% all by myself. My most popular video was me criticizing Blair White, like I was criticizing Blair White in this video. and it got 4,000 views. He didn't help me at all. He didn't participate at all. I mean, the video he helped me with, like those things even do that well. Like those things actually perform that well. All these videos that are, upfront, whether you agree or disagree, because, like I was a strong anti-feminist, a strong anti-SJW, as you could tell from the titles. Like I was a very vocal anti-SJW. Shit's lady, but I did criticize Blair White's in this video, but it's like you can see that the videos that got the most views are videos that I did myself, and I mean I didn't the video that Darkacon did is still here. It's just privatized, and yeah, privatized videos would still show up on my channel, but I have criticized the anti-SJW community here and there, but my videos that perform the best are videos that I did 100% myself. He didn't help me did it. I did it myself. And like, even some of the videos that's, some big YouTubers promoted, like, Sticks Hexenhammer, he shared out a video of mine. Darkacon did not help me with that video, so I, this is so fake that, like I have no talent, and that I relied on him and I leaned on his help, because, he is just sucking his own dick, because the videos that did the best are the videos I did 100% myself. So it's like, how dare you?
Well, it's it's not untypical of someone like Darkon to sort of just fabricate a narrative for himself. But going back to what you said, Wolf, it's important to sort of also sort of highlight the fact that Rin and I blocked him months ago. It's obviously I want to talk about how Darkon's racism sort of exists and is a thing. But we also sort of don't particularly enjoy having to have him harangue people and sort of be in our spaces and stuff. Hence, us blocking him.
And it's got to the stage where it's like I've just got to walk away from that sort of stuff, because it's absolute madness, and it's like there are things that are being said, and they already know that when you say the N-word, they already know what a sting that word has to it, that it is one of those slippery slope words that really can escalate quickly, and then to actually put that into a video again, it's like you're not sort of listening to what people are saying to you, even from the inside, and eventually, I can't help people who can't help themselves, so it's like
like they know what the word means. There's no doubt about it. They're not like born yesterday. They know what the word means. There's only one reason that they'd use it, regardless of what what's his name, common sense guy trying to claim it's like, oh, he's pretending he's a gangster or whatever, like just nonsense.
Well, even if he was pretending to be a gangster, I mean, wouldn't it be super, super cringy for like a white boy from Kansas pretending to be a gangster? Like, I don't think that makes it any better.
Here's another problem, like that I have with Common Sense Guy. I did check out his YouTube channel once, and it's like he does have a video called like Healing the Divide, but he's the one that's kind of like help engaging in the divide, like he's the one like taking screenshots of me and sending it to Darkon. So it's like, or it's kind of like he also followed the fake Ren account while it was impersonating me. So it's like, oh, healing the divide. Like, how could we heal the divide? And he has, this other live stream says the left and the right. So why can't we all just get along? But then he's like,
the left can't even get along with itself sometimes.
Right.
Anytime, honestly.
Anytime, yes.
You looked at Twitter recently.
anarchists just fighting each other?
I'm an anarchist, and I don't even get along with all anarchists. Criminalists, they're ableist, so they're not as. But that's a whole nother thing.
Well, I think that the operative question is like, when you live in a society where there is so much wrong, you can't really expect that any of those problems won't fall into your radical movement. Like, just because you have a more radical economic policy, it doesn't mean you're immune to all the social pressures and all the social biases of the world we live in. I mean, it would be nice if just like, oh, I'm an anarchist now, and my racism is cured, and my sexism is cured. I'm now a perfect person. I don't and it's like being baptized or something. Like your slate is wiped clean. That's not how it works. People take the biases they've had and gained throughout their life, and it sticks with them.
It's certainly a complex topic that probably needs its own stream in itself, to be honest.
I was gonna bring up
reasons why I keep recommending everybody to. That's the reason why I keep recommending that everybody would read a book called "Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me," because it does, touch into that. And there's the screenshots that I keep sharing, but it's about this study that was done upon college students, where they had, one set of students that got to vent their anger against the professor, and they have a second group of students that didn't get to vent their anger against the professor, and that they realized that when they, tested the blood pressure, that, when the students that did not get to vent their anger, their blood pressure went down. But the students that did, get to, reports on their professor, they were twice as angry. And then they ought to realize that, the catharsis theory is wrong. The catharsis theory has actually been proven false. What happens angry triggers self-justification, because you begin to think, how could a nice, kind, sweet person like me possibly do something terrible? So it's like, well, it's all that person's fault. And then you keep making excuses for your behavior. Then you get yourself more worked up, and because you keep getting yourself more riled up, you become even more angry.
Oh yeah, I was
sorry,
just gonna,
you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna continue my saga with S-Man, because I didn't know S-Man, like I didn't know all the terrible shit about S-Man in the past until Owen, because you DM'd me about S-Man, like being a participant in Dark Khan's racism, but I don't think he brought up Dark Khan when you were talking about it. It was just S-Man. So when I made the post, that
was a mistake on my part. Like,
it was also on my part too, because I should have DM'd him. But like when I DM'd him, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I reformed myself. He was like, I apologize about like the things I did, and I reformed myself. And I'm like, he's like, I don't know why Owen keeps bringing us up, and so I just wanted to go to bed right after that, because I was like, I'll probably like try to figure more of this out tomorrow. So I went to bed, and I woke up about 15 minutes later because I couldn't sleep, and then I saw this post from S-Man. I'm just gonna read it. It's okay, I'm fucking done with this site, whether I'm active on it or not. Apparently being here or at all is just not fucking worth it. No matter what I do, I'm just a fucking bigot, and no matter how much I've changed and reformed myself, any fucking mistakes will be made against me until I am in shady motherfucking pines. And while I'm either here or not, false accusations will be leveled against me by a pill-popping fraud and a repetitive professional victim who reads the same depressing news stories and is then miserable all the fucking time. And the only thing I can say is that I am sorry for fucking making an effort in changing my fucking ways, because no matter what, that isn't good enough. See you all in a little over 2 weeks. P.S. For the love of God, if you have a problem with me, take it to the fucking DMs. S-Man out. So yeah, I think that post speaks for itself. He was pretty much.
It's not a productive response to criticism. I can understand being frustrated with the amount of criticism, especially bad faith criticism, that gets leveled at pretty much everyone online all the time. It's frustrating. However, your friend acting in a terrible way and you just kind of shrugging your shoulders, it's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
As much as I like S-Man as a person, it's a problem. It's a problem that that nothing is said about Darkon. And it's not a problem that is impossible to solve. Like, really, pulling Darkon aside and saying, stop calling Owen the N-word, stop making constant videos about Rin and Owen, let it go.
Yeah.
Is not hard. This is something that is not asking the world of you.
Yeah, and even in his response, like that post, like he's still complicit in Darkon's behavior, because he refers to Rin as the what did he say?
Pill-popping fraud.
And he calls Owen the repetitive professional victim who reads the press. I'm like, dog.
I was sick when the flu, when I was popping pills. It's like I do it every single day.
Also,
you know, I do it every single day. If I did it every single day, I would be in the hospital right now. You know, like, don't you think I would be in the hospital right now? But the doctor says I'm in perfectly good health. Or don't you think it would start to affect my job performance? But I could go to work on time every single day. Well, not every single day, obviously, but most days I show up to work early, and it's like if my boss needs me to do some overtime, I'm there for overtime work. When I see my doctor, the doctor says I'm in good health. It's like, it's kind of like I had the flu. Sure, I went a little bit overboard, but it's kind of like this. If a person gets, drunk once, you're not going to call them an alcoholic because they got flat out drunk once. And if they go for 4 months without drinking, you kind of go like, okay, you don't really drink, but when you drink, you get drunk, And people like that aren't even classified as alcoholics. Like, not even doctors would classify you as an alcoholic if you get like flat out drunk, one day, but then you go for like 4 or 5 months without drinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like when you make like a post like that, which is like so tone deaf and ignorant of the stuff around you, it makes like Lapis said, the genuine points that might be in there are sort of lost by the fact that he's saying this in response to his friend doing his like 25th racist act of the year or whatever. And the fact that
maybe.
Sorry?
I think even that's a bit generous, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that S-Man, well, sure, he's not making the videos actively saying the N-word. He's helping out Darkon with his stuff. He's in the Hangouts, and he's got plenty of opportunities to say something, and he never does. And with on top of all of this, his own posts and language can be pretty awful sometimes. And when people say something, he just doubles down on it a lot of the time. Like if you mention like, if in the past people have said, oh, S-Man, you're saying stuff that's a bit ableist, and he'll just say the same thing back again, like maybe adding in an extra slur and stuff.
Oh yes, he does.
But I think that at the end of the day, I don't know if that post came from very emotionally or mentally healthy state. So hopefully when he comes back in 2 weeks or so, he'll be more open to having a productive conversation about that. And if not, well, that's a shame. I guess he'll continue to, abet Darkon's racism, which is sad because I hope he changes. I like him as a person. I think there's lots of things that
I've been bad myself.
And he's been, very nice to me. But, being nice to me is not an excuse to treat my friends like shit. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not good enough. Like, as a friend, I still like S-Man. I can't, suddenly wave a magic wand and remove my feelings. But at the same time, I can't pretend anymore that it's acceptable to treat my friends like shit. It's not. It's not. And that I didn't do this like a year ago just goes to show that I still have so much to unlearn, and that I am in many ways a moral coward, that I have a lot to.
Oh, I don't think you need to say that about yourself, Lapis, because people, like you said, everyone's learning. You said earlier, everyone has got their flaws, and that you're speaking at all really, is a positive. And I want to make it clear that, like, with S-Man, it's not about, turning him into like a, S-Man's the bad one, trying to make rail against him or anything.
Right,
but,
right.
As obviously, I've got sympathies for S-Man. I'm not
gonna. Actually, I still have my sympathies with S-Man because, like, even with after my interactions with him, where I kind of like did finally just broken away, I would occasionally get tagged by him, but it's always something positive because it's like I think Jonathan's like this guy, and it'd be like Jake Fowler in a rap battle, epic rap battle, and it's like, I think I could go with Jake Fowler or something positive. So I still kind of would. I don't see his tweets and I don't interact with him anymore because the last time I just like drop into like listen to a stream that he hosted, the Darkon was in the live chat, said something about Owen kissing his brother in the tree. And
Wait,
then
what?
yeah. And so it was just a silly thing. They're just making it light of like how Owen would always just like go off the handle, as it were, and like if someone said like dumb or like that's an A-lister. But then it's like the next thing that S-Man said after the Darkon comment was like, that's the same tree that the ropes are hanging off of. Like, at least everyone was also like, "Oh, dude, that's too far." And like S-Man's like, "Oh yeah, you're right, that is too far." But that was the last time I heard a S-Man Speak stream. So it's kind of like.
And I think that's an indication that maybe if Darkon's friends had put a bit more pressure on them, it wouldn't have escalated to this.
Well, exactly.
It hadn't been just kind of, oh, ha-di-da, everything's fine. We don't have to say anything. Then we wouldn't have this guy making dozens and dozens of, basically poorly manufactured smear campaigns against two people.
Yeah,
I think constant racist slurs thrown at these people for no discernible reason, or sexist slurs, or what have you.
Yeah.
Like it's not hard. And if you wanted to make criticisms of my videos or anyone's videos, I'm not going to call you transphobic. I honestly appreciate good faith criticism. I think it's an important part of developing as a human being. In fact, Owen, I really need to congratulate you and thank you for the good faith criticism that you've given me. It's helped me become a better person.
Well, firstly, thank you, Lapis. And likewise, we all reflect on each other as people, and it's important to, like you said, have that network of healthy discussion. But like Geeks just sort of said, I think it's important to talk about like the endless hangouts they all have together, where just unacceptable language and jokes are made. And like you said, Lapis, just helping to normalize the sort of negative behavior, but in a healthy sort of environment, would be stopped quite quickly and would thus allow the conversation to just be sort of normal stuff and stuff that's not harming anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would be nice to have some good faith criticisms, but it's like, when Darker Khan goes after me, he goes after me very bad faith, like he's trying to make me seem like some sort of demon. Like the reason why Christiosity and I are such good friends is that when Christiosity criticizes me, she always criticizes me in good faith. And then I'm still thinking like, I didn't think about that before. Like, wow, I never considered that before. Like, you opened my world to something new. Or like when I got criticized by Vadim Newquist, Vadim Newquist, he actually brought up, a bunch of amazing points. And then he like changed my mind. Like, wow, like I never thought of that before, but it's like, or it's kind of like, like as like I like censor rights, but I was open-minded enough to watch a video by Three Arrows where he talks about our National Socialist during the time of Hitler, and it's like, wow, wow, it's like I never thought of that before. Like, this is great. Like when somebody is criticizing your worldview without personal attacks, you're going to be like more interested in hearing it. Like, oh, I see now. But when somebody goes and they dehumanize you, you want nothing to do with them, especially when they keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just toxic.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Because that's as I said before, like sometimes what a lot of people, especially the ones who are criticizing Owen at the moment, like it's you know, it's sort of based on interactions in the past. Like I can say, and I hope people don't mind me saying this, that the last time I spoke to Owen, like off air, it was like, okay, I had the sense that he was sort of, you know, like some people say, oh, he's miserable, he's depressed all the time, whatever. But it's, you know, like based on because I've already had a discussion off air, you know, and we talked about a number of things, and it was like, okay, that's no longer the case, and that kind of reflects in the Twitter as well, because that does affect the way that we come across on Twitter. Like if we're sort of if we're depressed or whatever, so maybe it might be and yeah, I sort of because that's what I've said. That's what I've said. Yeah, I don't always agree with everything. Like, you know, and like when it comes to every opinion or whatever. I mean, when I sort of looked at the Twitter feed maybe sort of 6 months ago, I might have thought, okay, I'm not sort of sure of this opinion or whatever. But you know, and often we don't put our best foot forward when we're sort of depressed or whatever. But that sort of pales in comparison to when someone, you know, uses like an abusive word like the N word or whatever. And you know, and at present, it's like the you know, because my role in this situation was like I'm trying to convince people, you know, it's time to sort of let this thing go and not to keep bringing up these same things again, to keep sort of poking the bear all the time. It's, you know, it's not going to do that. And I'm sort of the first to admit, because if I ever do a video like this, a sort of criticism video, I've got to own up to, you know, like my bad habits as well. Like the, because, you know, when it comes to memes or whatever, like they can be pretty awful sometimes.
Like I have seen some of them. Yes, I can.
Yeah. In the inbox or whatever, there's memes that go across every problematic thing you could think of. But it's like there's that, but then there's actually taking it into the public sphere and sort of throwing that out there. And I think my biggest sin is probably like the you know, when I've lost my temper with people like that. I think it might have been someone like Humane or something like that. Like, you know, I've thrown around words like the you know, the R word or whatever, or you know, I've said, you know, you're being autistic or what. Like that's probably my bad language. So that's why I'm not really the best person to even be in a conversation like this, because, you know, I've got my own kind of track record.
Well, the thing is, though, Wolf, you're aware that you've said some stuff that's, you know, harmful. You're, you know, sort of willing to acknowledge it, and you recognise that sometimes, like, language and, you know, words we say can hurt people, and you sort of, you know, you don't go out with the explicit like intent to cause people like damage, whereas, you know, people like Darkon, who, you know, clearly know what the N word means and clearly know that it's a racist word, are willing to, you know, make videos and posts, you know, going on about it, and sort of the stuff that's been said to Rin as well. You know, it's like there's a difference. It's like what Lapis said earlier, when she said that, you know, she and S-Man were comparable in some ways as to how they'd reacted. You know, Lapis might not have said something straight away, but A, you know, she still did in the end, and B, you know, she never did, you know, any of the sort of joining in with, like, you know, the hateful behavior and stuff. She never went on a live stream and called me a monkey, or, you know, laughed at chicken and watermelon jokes or whatever.
I guess the one thing I feel bad about is I felt that I think Darkon took some heat for something that I had done. Like we were sort of in a hangout and we were criticizing Sargon, and because he was being, you know, being his usual self, like whatever the hell he was talking about, and, you know, like we were sort of slamming on Sargon or whatever. And like in the on the off-air hangout, I was saying, what did I say? It's like, oh, a title for a stream could be, you know, we wouldn't even rape Sargon or whatever. And it was sort of like, it was a very tasteless sort of thing that I'd said. And I think of the title of the stream, but then I'd sort of felt bad that I felt like I'd thrown sort of Dark under the bus for something that was kind of my idea.
Yeah.
And I haven't really sort of answered to that.
It's I mean, I suppose it's a thing, but it's a minor thing next to, like, I mean, again, I suppose it's, you know, the fact that you're willing to acknowledge that, you know, that was wrong done is an important step. You know, lots of people can't. Clearly, you know, Darkon can't, because looking at my mentions, I mean, I've got Darkon blocked, obviously, but I get, like, there's a thread of a conversation that would be like, this person is blocked. Do you want to view the tweet? And it's like for 10 tweets in a row. of just like Dark on him mentioned, sort of moaning about not being racist and stuff. You wouldn't do that. You would sort of acknowledge that fault had been had, and do something about it. And I think that's such an important difference that needs to be established, because everyone says stuff that's like harmful sometimes. It's about how we can change that, how we can learn and
we are all human. We all make,
because we do have to adapt our behavior for it, because I think Discord is where we will. Oh, sorry, Gwen.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's like, okay, the difference it's like one good thing about, effeminate degenerate is that she doesn't call me a pill popper each and every single chance she could get. She has been a lot more nicer about it. And, again, I could understand, like, we've never really spoken to each other before. We never ever really had a conversation before. And everybody, we've all used the Twitter while angry. Like, I have gone off on people on Twitter while angry. And I think part of it is how Twitter is designed to me. It's designed in a way that kind of brings out the worst in people, Yeah, because it's kind of a lot like, it's easy to take something out of context, but it's also a limited of characters you can write. Sure, you can write a thread, but most people aren't going to read the whole entire thread. It's not like Tumblr. Like, when it comes to a bunch of websites, it feels like Twitter is the worst one of them all. And it seems like each and every new changes they make helps bring out the worst, of people. Because when I got in quote tweeted by take down MRAs, I was in a very dark. I was in a very dark place. Like, I was really dark place, because when I got quote tweeted by the MRS, I got so many nasty tweets, and I just hated progressive stand. I was like, fuck. I was like really angry at progressives because my feelings were hurt. I was, like, when you get a bunch of nasty tweets, it's going to put you in pain, and that would come out as anger. And you're going to say some really nasty things, and it kind of creates, whether you mean to or not, it's going to create a negative, like, you're angry, there's somebody else is angry, there's somebody else is angry, and you're part of the problem, but it's also part of, like, if I make a tweet.
Well, it's because
I don't mean to sort of interrupt the flow or anything. I just wanted to say that we're approaching the 2-hour mark for the stream. And while I am really enjoying having you all here and talking and stuff, it's getting a little bit late in the UK, and I was wondering if we could sort of not just stop the thread, not just stop the conversation dead here or anything, but sort of aim towards coming to somewhat of a conclusion, if that makes sense. Which isn't to, like, it might come across as me saying, right, enough is enough or anything, but I have really enjoyed it. It's just that it's 2 hours. 2 hours is a nice
come to an end.
Yeah, because we should probably, like, because we should sort of like stream again and just so we can catch up with each other, because there's a lot of things that because I only scratched the surface when I caught up, because Owen told me a few things about good news in his own life or whatever, and it's like it's so it'd be good to sort of have, like, some sort of just to catch up where we can just socialize.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just want to bring up this thing with Darkon, because Lapis made the post and I retweeted it, and I said I stand with Owen, because like, if you're gonna make a video about someone criticizing them, don't use slurs, just focus on their argument. And that's always been my principle too. Like, in a response video, never like focus on any of the person's flaws, like just focus on their argument.
And
it's basic critical thinking, really, isn't it?
Right.
Sorry, Lapis.
I said the only exception I would say is if you're making a video about the flaw, by which I mean something like, oh, this is exposing someone's cheating or manipulative behavior or scamming, in which case it's less about their opinions and more, okay, this person has done something bad.
Right.
But if it's not, like, relevant to the video, I don't really see why I have to list off, this person is mean, this person is unkind, you know, this person is like really, like, what does this add to the argument?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but also when you're making a video, it's important to have constructive criticism instead of just, escalating. Like what I noticed is that nobody seems to ever use de-escalation techniques or, conflict management resolutions. Like one of the things that I like about Christiosity is that she doesn't seem to use like de-escalation techniques, but people they seem to actually want to escalate, the situation for more views, and it's like this is pathetic, because a person's gonna be more responsive if you were to say, hey, like maybe you should work on this, like you do. Okay, it's like it's like I can't think of anything right now, but it's like you do X, and I would like you to be a better person. Could you please stop doing X instead of escalating? It's like you are so horrible, you're so terrible, you're evil, you're not even trying to be a better person. Instead, it's like, hey, this is your flaw. Why don't you try work on it? But I'm not going to try to shame you for your flaws because we all have flaws.
Yeah.
I think that
that's where because I'm quite good at that sort of thing when it comes to sort of de-escalating a lot of things. Like if I'm there at the time and whatever, and that's what I've learned. And I've been a bit shy in the past about sort of being overly opinionated or whatever. But usually that's kind of a good thing because my age kind of gives me an advantage in some ways. I don't know why. It's one of those. Maybe it's a access of privilege that nobody ever talks about. It's like, when you're older, people tend to stop what they're in their tracks if you sort of say, "Hey, cut that out."
Yeah, I just noticed Dark, because I also attached a tweet to the original retweet of Lapsus' tweet, and I was like, if like to all his friends who weren't calling him out, like shame on you because you're pretty much complicit in this, like laughing along and just not really saying anything about it, and he's like, oh, leave them all out of this. Don't play any guilt by association or whatever. Like, you got a problem, bring it to me. And it's like, well, no, I have to bring it to your friends because it's like, they could easily stop this as much as like me, Lapis, Owen, or Rin can, or anybody else who's calling you out can. So it's like, yeah, I am gonna bring it to them. Like they're pretty much as at fault as you are. So
well, the thing is, they have the power to influence Darkon in a way that no one else does, because although Darkon may have considered me a friend before I did this, when I was being silent and complicit. Oh, sorry, someone tried to come in here. He probably doesn't anymore, but it still needed to happen. It's not worth maintaining a friendship if it's based on just being complicit in other people being treated terribly and being treated with racism and sexism and just in general kind of meanness and obsession. A friendship built on being silent and on being a bystander, that's not a friendship. That's a worthless relationship.
No,
and I think it's also important to. Oh gosh, sorry, we all spoke at once. Who was first? One of you two, Rin or Wolf?
It's like, what do you say, Owen?
Sorry, I said one of you two was first.
Yeah, it's kind of like my friendship with my friendship with Christiosity. It's like I'm not perfect, and it's like if Christiosity is kind of like you're saying XYZ, and I take issue with that, it's gonna cause me to reflect my actions more because it's more powerful coming from a friend. Like if you're or if Lonely Wolf saying like, hey, you did XYZ and I think you're wrong, and like I think you should change, it's gonna be so much more powerful coming from friends. So friends do have some type of duty to say, hey, you're doing this, and I'm still your friend, but I think what you're doing is really crappy, because if it's coming from a friendship you care about, you may be thinking, maybe I should do things differently. But if your friends, laugh along, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's okay because you are who you hang out with.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that while it's important to obviously be, like friendly and sort of giving people constructive criticism, all that sort of stuff, it's justified for us to be angry and frustrated and disappointed with people like Darkon, because at the end of the day their behavior is unacceptable. The way they conduct themselves is deeply racist and deeply unkind and cruel, and for us to be critical of him and others in their circle is important, because it's important to the marginalized people like us, like all of us, who are on the receiving end of this stuff. And to sort of draw our sort of nice conversation to somewhat of a close, I think obviously Darkon is the main sort of person being criticized, but really anyone who behaves in that that manner, anyone who like laughs along, anyone who is willing to use language like that, just like needs to sort of be not doing that, and they shouldn't be able to be in an online space using those words without sort of being confronted about it and sort of told about it. And I think it's good when we sort of rail around each other and defend each other like this, because it helps us, form stronger communities and build, better connections with each other. And I think that's why, even obviously, it's not like I'm some big figure or anything, but even just
don't sell yourself too short, because some people have been like, "Oh, Owen McDonald? Oh, hey, I like to talk to him. I like meet him," because like even though it's like weird parasocial relations on like Twitter and stuff like that, some people would be like cool to like get to chat with you. But anyway, I'll let you finish.
Well, thank you for that. Give a kiss, boost my ego a little bit, anyway. But no, it's important to rally around each other and sort of make it clear that this sort of stuff isn't acceptable. And unless there's any other closing thoughts that anyone would like to sort of talk about briefly, I think Mr. BA.
I guess my thought is that like the whole intention of this, it's like we're not sitting around here. It's not like a big roast saying this person, you're a horrible person, yada yada yada. It's just sort of saying, like, can we just move on from this? It's like it's been going on for years, and what I'm seeing like at the present day, like because I've got sort of friends of mine who've and in the past I've actually said this like I've said this in this stream. Yes, like, did I agree with every tweet or the way the debates were handled? Like, no, I didn't agree with every point that was made or some of the sort of implications behind, this or whatever. So to some extent, like I've sort of, I can side with Darkon based on, maybe the pro-LGBT stances. So like, I've got to sort of defend that. But at the end of the day, at present, I'm seeing two people who just want to move on. And they're both friends of mine. And what I'm seeing on the other side is it's the recycling of the name, and the names keep getting invoked. And it's like, when is enough enough? And like, I can't just sit around and enable that sort of that neuroticism and delusional sort of behavior. It's just like I've got to. There reaches a point where I've got to sort of walk away if you can't take reasonable advice.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed too. Well, at least from my conversation with Darkon, I think we were talking about this earlier before the stream, where he doesn't seem to understand like why he's being criticized or why he's being told to stop, because it wasn't just me telling him like, oh yeah, well, calling Owen the N-word is wrong, obviously. It was like one of my followers, I think his name's Sam, and this other guy, I think he was one of Sam's followers, I don't know, but he jumped in and he was like, well, it's wrong. He's like, well, if it makes any difference, I didn't say See, I didn't say the N word with the ER at the end. I said it with the A at the end. Like gangsters and rappers can say it. Why can't I say it? And I'm just like,
He told me that too. He said that to me too in the video. Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, what's the difference? Like, still, you don't say that. Like, there is a difference between like, and I think Sam was explaining it to me. He's like, there's a difference when, like, a black comedian, like, let's say, okay, Dave Chappelle, because he's like the only black comedian that says like constantly. But let's say like Dave Chappelle says the N-word. In that sense, it's okay because it's like, oh well, he's black, you know, he can say it, blah 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 blah. There's that attitude. And then with you're some white guy from Kansas, like Lapis likes to say. He's a white boy from Kansas, and like when you say it, it's just there's context behind that, you know?
Yeah.
And he's, you know, like dehumanizing both Owen and myself. Like he really the whole entire video about me is just dehumanizing me. He's making me out to be some sort of demon. And it's like even with Owen, it is, you know, he treats Owen like he's subhuman. He doesn't treat us like we're people. We're not humans to him.
Well, exactly. You know, it's just the fact that someone his age, you know, can pretend as though there's like no problem with saying the N-word with an A on the end to someone, as though like it's just any different. And you know, the dehumanization, it's all just terrible. And you know, even like, I mean, I suppose we shouldn't go too much into it now, given we're meant to be wrapping a thread up. But even like, even if you ignore all the you know, stuff about the racism, his points themselves are mostly trash as well. Like, I mean, I know Wolf has sort of, you know, said that moving on is important, and yeah, I do want to move on, but I think like let's not get it mixed up. Darkon, his politics are just as terrible and worth talking about in other contexts. Obviously, I don't want to make it like, oh, you know, Darkon said this, so it's wrong. It's more the fact that the politics that he has are wrong, and by extension, the holding those politics are not good things to hold. That makes sense, but it'll be talked about another time, I'm sure. For now, though, thanks everyone for joining us for such a wonderful stream. Hopefully, we've shed some light on, you know, recent events and sort of why we've been speaking about a particular set of racists. Thanks everyone for the solidarity and stuff, each and every one of you, and everyone who watched. And hopefully, like Wolf said, we'll be able to have a stream, you know, that's a bit lighter in tone and maybe, you know, not quite as you know, covered by such you know, detestable topics as racism.
Let's make the next one about anime, just for the hell of it.
I love anime.
We'll see.
I don't
We'll
watch
see.
it.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm dying inside.
Anyway, yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Thanks everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.